Today we will be reviewing Meta's terms of service with legal analysis. If you like this video, make sure to like and share, and we might create more. At Defend, we work to protect children and vulnerable people from the dangers that the internet represents, which is why it is important for us to educate society, take action, and urge the government to take preventive and corrective measures. One of the ways in which we achieve the development of our work is by analyzing the characteristics of internet products. We then provide information on how to use these products safely. Today, we will review the terms of service and data policy of Meta. Let's start off with who is Meta. They are the parent company of Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Messenger. While social media and these services might have good qualities, there are a lot of negative aspects to them that cannot be ignored. Almost around every corner on these platforms, any user can find inappropriate content, have their privacy violated, be exposed to hackers, sexting, and cyberbullying, and even have psychological and emotional repercussions without even noticing the parents of the child or adolescent, among other things. Just in 2021, there were 26 million child sex abuse reports on Meta platforms, including a majority of them on Facebook. While Facebook has tried to shed these scars by its recent name and structure changes, there are some things that you need to know about how they are doing business. So what are some key features of Meta's terms of service? 1. Meta products and services are free. There is a subtle admission that certain user information is disclosed to advertisers. However, there is a guarantee that information that directly identifies users, such as name and email addresses, will not be provided to advertisers unless the user gives permission to do so. 2. Meta will track users' activities through posts, interests, activities, events, and settings in exchange for personalized services, also known as advertisements. Example: the more you like a specific content that appears on the homepage of your favorite social network, the more it will continue to appear. The name that this receives is algorithm, and as a consequence of this, you will end up generating an addiction to social networks, because there you will always find content of interest. Faced with this, it is important to mention that against Meta and other social networks, there are a large number of lawsuits and studies which show the great psychological impact that it can have on the life of a user who makes use of these social networks, especially in children and adolescents, who are vulnerable people and are at greater risk of suffering serious consequences as a result of addiction. One of many cases currently being legally debated before the US District Court in Denver, Colorado, against Facebook and parent company Meta. The lawsuit filed in court establishes that Cecilia Tesk's daughter at the age of 7 began using Facebook and quickly began to engage in addictive and problematic use of the platform, bringing serious consequences in normal development. His sleep was affected due to the constant notifications from the social media app. They have a data policy detailing how they collect and use personal data. This will then determine what type of ads the user will see. The algorithms are based on the interests of the user. This data is collected through messages users send to other people. Interesting, given that they have end-to-end encryption. So how does this actually work? Places where photos were taken or the dates files were created. Publications that are shared. What are publications, you might be wondering? We will get into that later. Interactions with other accounts. Contact information that a person chooses to upload, sync, or import from a device to find people they know. Frequency and duration of activities. Online purchases including payment information, credit or debit card number, authentication, shipping, and contact information. They collect information about computers, telephones, televisions, and other devices connected to the internet, where at least one Meta platform application is installed. They also collect more data such as device characteristics, device operations, identifiers, device signals, configuration data, network and connections, cookie data. Advertisers, application developers, and publishers, including the like button, provide information about the activities that are carried out even outside the Meta products. For example, what type of games the user uses and what purchases he makes outside and inside the internet are done by external data providers. For this purpose, they have some partners who receive the user's information when they visit or use a service, and this information is provided to Meta. Example of how invasive Meta is with the privacy of users, and that you surely didn't know. You meet some friends for dinner and talk about maternity issues, and the next day or even the same day, topics related to this appear in advertising. And here you didn't even do any kind of search on your cell phone. To what is this attributed? According to an experiment carried out on the Instagram app in 2017 by Damien Lenoulli and shared through an article called Instagram is Listening You, it was found out that without this social network even being active, being in the background, it uses the microphone to determine the interests of users. This study was carried out because an ad was found on his Instagram that surprised him a lot. It was about a product that I had never searched for on Google, nor shared, nor liked, nor talked about it on any social network, not even by private message. In fact, the product in the ad had only come up in a conversation over coffee with some friends. Thus, he concluded that Instagram could only know having listened to conversations in my real life with the microphone. How to solve it? To prevent Instagram from listening to us through the microphone of the smartphone, just go to settings and change the privacy of the microphone, making the application not have permission to access it. However, keep in mind that by doing this, you gain privacy but lose some functionality. For example, the audio will not be captured in the recording of videos or stories that are made within the application. Use advanced technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning systems, and augmented reality so that people can use the services in a safe way. Have automated systems to improve the ability to detect and eliminate abusive or dangerous activities that can harm and damage the integrity. Technology is still insufficient to protect against the risks incurred by anyone who makes use of the Meta platform. Meta is committed to fighting harmful conduct and discouraging misuse of its platforms by sharing such information between its companies once misuse has been identified. User information will be shared across all Meta products. For example, user engagement in one product can lead to easy identification and increased engagement in other Meta products. For example, a stalker on Facebook can easily identify his victim on other Meta products. Meta promises to give users control over the type of ads they see and the type of information they collect to determine which ads to show. Meta provides general guidance on who can use its products and the quality of information needed to use the services. Meta's platforms cannot be used when users are under 14 years of age, users are convicted of sexual crimes, users' accounts were disabled for violating the terms or policies. These are applicable laws that prohibit access to products, services, or software. However, these restrictions become obsolete because the platform does not verify the user's identity or personal history when an account is created, using it as an economic benefit for Meta at the expense of vulnerable people such as children and adolescents. A child under 14 years of age can have access to social networks without having any of the restrictions that Meta alleges. Because when filling out the form of questions for the creation of the profile, he can enter a false date of birth, and in this way, he manages to create his profile. That is where preventive measures are required, which starts from parents who have the responsibility of controlling the use of mobile phones through applications such as Family Time. It is used by parents to manage the time of use of apps, games, and the internet. Know where your child's phone is. Block applications that they do not consider appropriate. Set usage permissions and stay on top of contacts and calls they make. Meta acquires non-exclusive, transferable, royalty-free, and sub-licensable rights over the data, information, and content shared on its platforms by users until they are removed. This is a big deal, but like other terms of agreement, it is subject to users agreeing to use their products and services. Username, profile picture, and share information may be associated with advertisements and sponsored content, and Facebook has the right to promote such information throughout the platforms as part of the advertisement or sponsored content. Users can withdraw their permission through ad preferences and settings. Facebook reserves the right to update its term of service and would give users at least 30 days to review and agree to the new terms before they can take effect. Choosing not to accept the updated terms is an implied decision not to use the product further. This means that any metadata, even when it can be abusive, like giving access to our camera, must be accepted, or else the user must delete their account. According to a message published in 2019 by a Twitter user, Facebook has access to the camera. And how does it have access to it? Precisely because users have accepted this type of abusive terms and conditions by Meta without taking into account its scope. What does that access to the camera mean? Well, basically, the application could record everything it sees along with the feed and check how we behave, where we look, what we react to, etc. Data that is always important for companies for what they call improving the user experience. Facebook may permanently disable a user's account if there is a clear, serious, and repeated breach of its terms, policies, and standards. Meta has limitation of liability. We strive to provide the best products possible and set clear standards for everyone who uses them. However, our products are provided as is, and we cannot guarantee that they will always be secure, error-free, or function without interruptions, delays, or imperfections. To the extent permitted by law, we disclaim all liabilities, whether express or implied, including the implied warranties of merchantability, fitness for a particular purpose, title, and non-infringement. We have no control or influence over what people do or say. Likewise, we are not responsible for the behavior or actions, whether on or off the internet, or for the content they share, including that which may be offensive, inappropriate, obscene, illegal, or objectionable. We cannot predict if any problems will arise with our products. Accordingly, our liability will be limited to the maximum extent permitted by applicable law. And under no circumstances will we be liable for any loss of profits, revenue, information, or data, or for consequential, special, indirect, exemplary, punitive, or incidental damages arising out of or in connection with these terms or the Facebook products, even if we have been advised of the possibility of such damages. Meta is unclear regarding the jurisdiction where legal conflicts must be resolved. The consumer before a claim, cause, or resource that initiates against Meta as a result of the conditions or the products must be governed by the laws of the country where the affected party resides. In all other cases, the United States District Court for the Northern District of California or any state court in San Mateo County shall govern exclusively. Since this statement is not very specific and clear, I think that it should establish what these other cases are. Furthermore, you agree to submit to the personal jurisdiction of any of these courts for the purpose of litigation any claim, and you agree that these terms, as well as any claim, shall be governed by the laws of the state of California. They have complementary conditions to the products for business purposes or commercial use, purchase of ads, application development, administration of groups or pages, among others. Meta has community rules to establish what is allowed and what is not on its platform, so that those who use them feel safe. These standards are based on the feedback they receive from people on the advice of specialists in the fields of the technology, public safety, and human rights. Some of the topics that are applied in the community norms are criminal conduct and violence, security, which includes suicide and self-harm, sexual exploitation and nudity of minors, exploitation of adults, bullying and harassment, human trafficking, among others. Likewise, they have additional measures for the protection of minors. Requests to delete a minor's account. Government requests to remove child abuse images depicting, for example, strangulation or suffocation by an adult. Requests for legal guardians to eliminate attacks on minors who have inadvertently become famous. Removal of content created with the purpose of identifying minors who are not public figures, and if this implies a risk to the minor's safety when requested by a user, the government, the police, judicial authorities, or specialists in child safety external. Taking into account the above, I think that the measures are not effective because any event that occurs is subject to a third party reporting it. And as stated in previous points, it may take days or even months before the platform takes any action. Policies of Facebook pages, groups, and events applicable to the creators or administrators of the pages where it is prohibited to use them for purposes of prohibited commercial practices, impersonation of identity or public figure, online gambling, or that require monetary value, among others. Live policies apply to all content streamed through Facebook Live, warning against sharing of incorrect location, pre-recorded content, looping or static content, and prohibited business practices. After the analysis carried out about the terms of services and the data policy of Meta, the conclusions that were obtained are the following. The Meta platform tracks the activities of users, always presenting content of interest, generating addiction and consequential problems in mental health, especially in children and adolescents, who are the most vulnerable people. This is reflected in the large number of demands that the Meta platform currently has and the studies that have been carried out where it has been established that the use of social networks is related to an increase in the rates of anxiety, depression, and sleep problems. This is stated in the report entitled Status of Mind, examining the positive and negative effects of social media and young people's health, published by the RSPH, Royal Society for Public Health, and the movement for the health of young people. There is no control. The use of this platform is accessible to anyone who has a device or a computer. There is no control, or as they themselves claim, a restriction when creating profiles. There is an exchange of data which makes the information not private. The collection of data is aimed at personalizing the user experience, and for this Meta shares information about tastes, activities, etc. to partners, advertisers, companies, among others. The law is permissive with the platform. The great problem of all the power that Meta has over users lies in the fact that legally they're not obliged to protect users. So they are exempt from all responsibilities for situations that are presented, even of the facts that they already had knowledge of. However, in some jurisdictions such as California, there is some regulation. An example of this is the Shine the Light law, which grants residents of that state the right to ask companies once a year what personal information they share with third parties for direct marketing purposes. It is estimated that the social network with the most users in the world is Facebook with 2.9 billion. The most worrying thing about this is that due to the growth that this platform and the internet have every day, the legislation is lagging behind and therefore outdated in the face of all the risks which are getting bigger. For this year, updates are expected in various components of the platform. The date of the last revision of the Terms of Service and Data Policy that appears on the website is October 22nd, 2020. However, on January 4th, 2022, they claim to have updated the conditions of use, data policies, and cookies policy to be in accordance with the new name of the company. Some new policies as of July 2022 include use of clearer and more understandable language for users, new controls to manage who sees people's posts and the topics users want to see ads about, allowing people to use a single control to set preferences on ad topics that reflect interest targeting categories that advertisers can use to target them. Meta's updated privacy policy covers Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, and other Meta products. This does not include WhatsApp, Workplace, Free Basics, Messenger kits, or use of Quest devices without a Facebook account, as these products have their own privacy policies. The new privacy policy can be found in the new Privacy Center. Meta hopes to offer more centralized location and access to these resources. In addition, update notifications will be for informational purposes only. Given the investigation carried out, it is clear that joint measures should be taken from the parents of those children and adolescents, the government to the Meta platform, all aimed at the proper functioning of the platform and to prevent serious consequences. The governments of the whole world. Legally, the creation of a special regulation is required that covers everything related to social networks, including training and preventive campaigns in schools, universities, companies, etc., about all the risks to which a user may be exposed. They can adapt and update the technology they have for the benefit of the users, and not only their own. So that, for example, it may be possible to identify when an abuser of people or children creates different profiles to commit illicit acts. Parents of children and adolescents. In principle, they should be aware that the legal age to use the platforms is 13 years old, taking into account that at that age they can already understand the possible dangers that they can face in these social networks. Parental control is required, setting time limits, having access to profiles and passwords, checking phones once a week to review search history and deleted material, downloading applications that are responsible for reporting the activity is being made from the mobile of the child or adolescent. Ultimately, we need parents who are more committed to talking to their children and teaching them to trust their instincts when they feel uncomfortable or threatened by something or someone on social media. Thanks for watching. Check out our website helpusdefend.com for more content like this.